A 4-0 win against the Giants Friday puts the Braves at 79-42, still the best record in baseball. But one of the most impressive things, Justin, our Braves beat writer, just wrote about is Spencer Strider is pretty much in the process of making some history.
Yeah, so Spencer has 16 double-digit strikeout games in his career, 10 this season alone. Sarah, that is 16 in 45 career starts. I'm not a math major, you were not a math major, but to put that another way, in 36% of his starts to this point in his career, he's had at least 10 strikeouts. That's pretty good, I would say, right? And so if we go, 16 double-digit strikeout games, I looked this up. That is my job, so to be sort of a stat whiz, you wear a lot of different hats. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So Spencer, this was his 58th career game, but only 45 starts.
Because he was a reliever for a while.
So he had those relief appearances, 2 in 2021, 11 in 2022 before entering the rotation. There are only 2 pitchers in MLB history with more double-digit strikeout games in their first 58 games. Those are Yu Darvish, who had 20 of them, and Dwight Gooden, the Hall of Famer, who had 23 of them. Spencer's got 16, and those 2 guys I just mentioned, they were starters from the jump. So they've got a lot of time on him, 13 more games to get those. It is really impressive what he's doing. Sometimes you kind of just need to sit back and be in awe of the mastery and the masterclass he puts together and how elite he is. This is something really rare that we're watching. Yes, strikeouts are more prevalent in today's game, but you don't see this every day, evidenced by the fact that I looked it up for guys his age, 24 and younger. Only 8 players in MLB history have had 10 double-digit strikeout games in a single season at that age or younger. So we're seeing something really, really special here in a guy who, this might be a bold take, but he's going to have a lot more of these.
So one thing I want to say about the offense, how dare Michael Harris not hit for the cycle tonight? Rude of him, but how impressive of a performance was this by Harris?
It was really impressive. Anytime you are a homer shy of the cycle through 4 innings, you're doing something well. Things are going well with your night. I think the biggest thing with Michael that I can emphasize is this was a guy who was batting 163 through his first 38 games this season. He had an awful April, an awful May because of a back injury, a back strain he suffered, a lower back strain earlier in the season. So to have that and then to put together the last 2 months he has been really impressive. Since June 7th, before this performance, he had hit 352. And that's the 5th best batting average over that span. And he also had a 946 OPS. Spencer Strider told us right after the game that the biggest thing that he saw with Harris that he finds most impressive is to be able to go into that dark period and come out of it even better. Spencer said that anybody can do it over a period of time, like last year. At anything, anybody can succeed over a period of time. But to do it consistently and to do it for another year as he is now, as we speak here, he's batting 291 with a 799 OPS, and that's after a really rough start. So Michael Harris has been one of the best hitters in baseball since June, and really it's the player the Braves thought he was when they drafted him, when they brought him up. I think he's even exceeded expectations offensively while playing that great defense, while running the bases very, very well. He's a really complete player, and I know Ozzie Albies is on the injured list right now, so he's batting second, but take all those numbers I just shared. That is your number 9 hitter if you're the Braves. When the lineup is at full strength, it doesn't make any sense.
Right. I think the Braves, it almost seemed like they went through a little bit of a blip. Listen, best team in baseball, best record in baseball, but they split that series with the Pirates. I think a lot of people were surprised by that. Then they really dominated the Mets and the Yankees, and now doing this tonight. Does it feel like the Braves have sort of gotten back on track a little bit?
Oh, 100%. Over 162 games, you have to proceed with caution because so many different things happen. They were not going to play at the pace they did in June for the entire season. That is impossible. If they did, they would win 135, 140 games.
Right.
Nobody's ever done that. But it does feel like this is the team we expected to see, where I think the encouraging thing is they score 4 runs, and it's an easy victory out here against the Giants, who are contending for an NL playoff spot as well. I think the biggest change I've seen since then is the starting pitching. Things can change in really quickly in this game. It's ebbs and flows, long season. Sarah, we were talking about during that Pirates series when it ended, the Braves had 6 poor starts in a row. Since then, it's been pretty good for the most part. Their only loss, they've won 7 out of 8 games as we speak here. Their only loss was when Yanni Chirinos gave up, I believe it was, he was charged with 6 runs. But other than that, I mean, Spencer Strider has had 2 scoreless outings. Bryce Elder has had a scoreless outing, one, hit baseball over 7 innings. I mean, since that, the Braves had, entering today, the second best ERA in baseball for their starters. So the starting pitching has really turned around. And the weird thing about that blip is, like, yeah, if you can even call it that, they were a little sluggish, but they were still scoring runs. So you knew that eventually it was going to turn when the starting pitching came around a little bit. The rotation has been good this year. Not as great since the All-Star break, but now turning things around and getting on a nice little roll. Are we going to talk about the shutouts? Should I add that to this?
3 straight shutouts?
Yeah, so that's the first time they've done that since 2015, and that was the last 3 games of the season. They're the first team to do that since the 2015 Pirates, and the first Braves team to do it, or 5 out of 8 shutouts, I think it is now. Yeah, 5 out of the last 8 games have been shutouts.
Shut out the Mets.
Right, which is pretty crazy to think about, right? And they're the last team to shut out the team in 5 out of their 8 games to have a stretch like that since the 2015 Pirates. The last Braves team to do it since the 98 Braves. Those guys, I know it didn't end with the World Series. Those guys were pretty good.
Yeah, if you guys remember that Braves, pretty good. Pretty good group.
Yeah. That's in terms of historical comparisons, that's the one you want to be with. Like I said, I know it didn't end with the World Series, but in terms of
a lot of the 90s Braves teams maybe should have but didn't. So it doesn't happen every time.
And that's why we look at these guys, and you're watching something pretty special in terms of maybe the best offense baseball has ever seen. One of them, for sure. You ask a lot of people around here, and they've never seen anything like it, especially players on opposing teams. People who work for opposing teams, I would imagine, they've never, haven't seen much like it. And if that pitching looks as good as it did today, if Strider is what he, was today, if the rotation is some semblance of what it has been over the last week, these guys are going to have a chance to change that narrative of the hype Braves team who doesn't win it all.
Well, we will see if they can keep it up and keep this hot streak going. Justin, thanks so much for joining me. Yeah. Thanks to all of you for watching. Make sure you go to ajc.com or subscribe to our YouTube channel to find more videos just like this one.